What's up, guys? Alex here with Jack Wagon Garage again. I'm here at the shop, as you can see. Got a little project to do today. I do have my Integra here in the shop. I'm going to be changing my valve cover gasket on this. I will show you guys how to do that. I'm also going to change the distributor O-ring. This is the distributor here. There's an O-ring on it because it goes inside of the head. And that's what gives you your spark, and it runs off the camshaft. There's an O-ring on there. Those can leak sometimes. Don't know if you can see it well, but I do have an oil leak. There's oil here, and it kind of drips down the side, the front of the block here. And pretty sure it's coming from my distributor O-ring, but also I do have a little bit of oil just around the edge of my valve cover gasket. So I'm gonna go ahead and just replace both of them today. So I'm gonna show you guys how to do that. I guess I'll start with just what you need to start removing. There's a 10mm bolt back here holding the power steering line on. 10mm bolt holding ground wire on here. You need to take this hose off of the back here, and then you're gonna want to take these 4 10mm here off to remove this cover. That's over the spark plug wires. So that way you can pull the spark plug wires out of the tubes, and then there'll be 4 more bolts under there, and then there's 1, 2, 3, and 4 more bolts here, and your valve cover will come off. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all that stuff I just mentioned, and I'll get the valve cover off and show you guys what it's supposed to look like. All right, this is how it should look with everything removed. Got my ground off, got my power steering line bolt out. I got all my valve cover bolts out, got my wires pulled out of the spark plug tubes and off to the side. Got the 4 middle bolts here and the 4 outer bolts all off. And I got my hose on the back here off, just had to loosen up the clamp, pull the hose off. This thing should pop off pretty easily. Something you can do is be very gentle, but take a big flathead screwdriver, and you can see my valve cover is moving now. So I've kind of broken that seal. So I'm gonna go ahead, and it's gonna take 2 hands, so I'm gonna go ahead and set the camera down, get that removed, and then I'll show you the gaskets on the underside of the valve cover and show you how to replace those. All right, got my valve cover pulled off. Real quick, I'm just gonna show you the inside of my motor. This is actually the first time since I bought it 2 years ago I've actually really kind of looked at the internals of the motor, because I've never taken the valve cover off. Everything looks really clean. Looks like oil changes were always kept up with, which is good. I mean, I've always kept up with oil changes since I've owned it, but when I bought it at 150,000 miles, who knows, you know, for that 150,000 miles, how well people kept up with oil changes. But everything looks really clean. I don't see any kind of buildup and gunk or, you know, just old nasty oil. Everything looks in really good shape, which is really nice. I know my motor's pretty healthy. Here's the valve cover here. My gasket did just kind of come out. It's not supposed to be in 2 pieces. It broke in 2 pieces when I was pulling it off, because it stuck to the, it actually stuck to the head here, and when I was pulling it off, it snapped in 2 pieces. But it would typically be in this groove, and I mean, this is where your new one goes. You can see that there is like a pretty obvious groove through the whole valve cover. And your valve cover gasket sets in there, so that'll hold it in place, keep it from moving. And then you got 4 spark plug tube seals. You want to go ahead and replace those too. Sometimes they'll pop out really easy. Sometimes you gotta maybe get just a little, yeah, they'll just pop out pretty easily. Obviously you want to replace all these gaskets. You're already here. No sense, just because my valve cover is leaking to the outside a little bit doesn't mean I just don't replace these spark plug tube seals, which keep oil from going into the spark plugs. You still want to just go ahead and replace those. So I'm gonna go ahead and slap my new seals in there, my new gasket around the outside, and I'll get this thing back on the car. One quick thing I want to mention before I put the valve cover back on the car is that the gasket, even though it has 2 humps on this side and 2 humps on this side, it does not go, you can't put the gasket in either direction. There's actually a larger spot here where there's a larger piece of gasket, and the other side doesn't have that. So it does go on in the valve cover a specific way, so just make sure you don't get that set in backwards. And also I do usually like to put just a dab of silicone in the corner of each, I'll grab a flashlight, in the corner of each, right where the cam cap is. I like to put just a dab of silicone in each of those, so it'll be 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, 1 here, and then the same on this side. Alright, I got my new valve cover gasket in. I got all 4 spark plug tube seals on. Got the valve cover set on. It's not tight yet because I did also want to show you guys that your new valve cover gasket set should come with new rubber washers with the little metal caps on them that go under each nut. So you're gonna want to go ahead and also throw new washers on each stud. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my other washers on, get my other bolts or my other nuts on, and get this thing all tightened down. And then I'll show you, get it all back together. I'll put everything back on that was attached to it, and then I'll show you guys how to remove the distributor and replace the O-ring. All right, I'm ready to pull the distributor out. One step that you would have to do that I've already done, just because I already did the valve cover gasket, is you would have to take that panel off the top. Well, you can either take the panel off the top with the nuts and pull your spark plug wires out of the tubes. I like doing that just because they keep in order on the distributor cap. You could just pull them off the distributor cap and remember which spot they go in, because it is important to which spot they go. They do have to go back where they came from. The other thing I would do for you guys, if you don't plan on adjusting ignition timing, is to, since the distributor can swivel side to side, and it does need to go back where it was, if you don't plan on adjusting ignition timing, is take like a marker, a Sharpie, some kind of paint marker or something. Mark, this part doesn't move, this part does move. So if you put a mark here and then a mark here perfectly lined up with it, you'll know exactly where the distributor goes back to where it was. I plan on adjusting ignition timing on my car, so I'm not gonna worry too much about it going exactly back where it was, because I'm gonna adjust it to where I want it anyways. But that's one thing you guys will want to do. Then the other thing is obviously you're gonna have to take your plugins off to get them out of the way. There's a bolt here you've got to take out. I'm gonna grab a flashlight again. There's a bolt. Get these wires out of the way. There's a bolt down there you gotta get. You can kind of just see the head of it right there. And then there's a third bolt right here. It's this one right here. Take all those out, take your electrical plugins off, get your wires out of the way, and your distributor will just pull out of the side of the head. And then there's an O-ring on there. You can specifically buy an O-ring for the distributor. You can go to O'Reilly's, AutoZone, anything like that. Usually they'll have them in stock. If they don't have them in stock, they can at least order them. But there is a specific O-ring you can order, so you know you're getting the exact right one. I don't have one purchase, but here at the shop we have a whole assortment of O-rings. I've got multiple boxes of them. I know I can find the right O-ring in here, but obviously if you don't have an assortment of O-rings to just find the right one, it is possible to just purchase one from the parts store, so you guys can do that. So I'm gonna go ahead and remove all those things I mentioned and get the distributor out. I'll show you the O-ring and how to replace it. All right, I got my distributor out. As you can see, these 2 teeth here is what it goes in a slot on the camshaft. The camshaft drives the distributor, and that's what makes the rotor inside the cap spin and gives you spark to each cylinder when it needs it. As you can see, there's an O-ring right here. That's the O-ring we're going to be changing. That's supposed to keep oil from leaking out. I think mine is leaking just a little bit. I like to take a like a little 90-degree pick to be able to, with a nice thin end. That way you can get down under that O-ring and get it peeled up and over. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that O-ring off, find an O-ring to fit back on it, get it on there, and we'll reinstall this distributor. All right, I got a new O-ring on there. I think this one should work pretty well. We'll put it in, find out, make sure it doesn't leak. One thing that's kind of smart to do when you put it back in is to either get some like sealer silicone, but see if I can find it. Oh, actually, I think it's in my toolbox. Some synthetic, that's what I meant, not silicone, but get some like synthetic grease. You could even use a little bit of engine oil. I stuck my finger in the hole where the distributor goes, got a little oil on the end of my finger and lubed up that O-ring a little bit. So that way when we put the distributor back into the head, the edge of it's nice and greased up. It should slide right in and you won't risk tearing that O-ring and creating a leak. So I'm gonna go ahead and get my distributor bolted back up, and we'll make sure we have no leaks. All right, everybody, I got everything back together. Got a new valve cover gasket on, everything's tightened down, got my wires in there, got the cover back bolted on tight, got my distributor in tight. I set ignition timing. I didn't show that just because it's a little complicated and you need some special tools to do it, and that's not what this was really about. It was really just about how to change that O-ring to fix an oil leak. Got my ignition timing setting though, got the distributor all bolted down, everything's plugged in. checked it for leaks. I already run it a little bit, checked the valve cover for leaks, checked the distributor for leaks. Everything looks good. I also obviously still just have a little bit of, you know, leftover old residue oil on here from when it was leaking before. Let's go ahead and get this degreased and washed off. Everything should look pretty clean. That's all I'm doing today. Just one last thing I did want to show is we just got to take a second and admire the fire.
Nice.
Just got my new wheel and tire set up on the car. I did have my track wheels on for a little while. I had my factory 5 GSR wheels on, and the tires that were on those, I ended up somehow splitting the inner sidewall on one of the tires. So I had to run my track setup for a little while, and while I had these on, I was figuring, well, if I have to buy new tires, might as well buy new wheels. So I took my rotors off and I ordered some 15x7 with a plus 35 offset RPF 1s. So I've got those on there now with a 205 50 15 Nitto Neogen tire. I didn't video this either, but I did put new tie rods on here. So I've got to throw this up on the alignment rack, get it all lined up. But yeah, just wanted to show these fire wheels for a second. All right guys, I just got my car done on the alignment rack. Toe was a little off in the front from doing the tie rods that I had done, and toe was like slightly off in the rear, not much, just something must have wiggled around. But I fixed toe in the rear, fixed toe in the front, everything's looking good. RPF1's on there looking fire. But that's it for today. Hope you enjoyed the valve cover gasket and distributor O-ring replacement video.